Good morning, everybody, and good morning to Hank Goldberg. Hank, another big winning day and a big winning week. Congratulations.
I did well on the television show. I know my two best bets were New England and the Rams. The Rams was my best bet of the week, actually. I really liked them against Dallas. Dallas, I knew was not good on the road. I knew what the Rams' strategy was going to be. They were just going to jam the box to stop Ezekiel. They held Ezekiel to 54 yards, and they made Dallas beat them with their passing game, which they couldn't do. And the Rams came up with their two-pronged rushing attack, and they did a smart thing. Gurley, they rested him, let him get well, and after the Raiders cut Anderson on December 11th, they picked him up. What a great acquisition that was. And the Rams do all the right things in their front office. They've given that coach everything he's needed. And he used those two backs to perfection. Whenever they needed short yardage, they put Anderson in there, who Dallas' defense couldn't stop. He's tough to bring down because he's so slow to the ground. And once he gets going, he's great at getting, not only a couple of yards, but breaking tackles and getting extra yardage. And Gurley is a different kind of a back in that he will get to the edges. And so you've got two different kinds of running backs. It's like having to defend two different kinds of receivers. It really puts a defense on their heels. The Saints are going to have a tough time defending. The Eagles had no running game at all against the Saints. That could change next week. The Saints are going to have their hands full.
Well, Sean McVay has done a great job this year. Amazing. Excuse me. Allergies got me. And I guess everybody in the league is thanking John Gruden for giving up all the talent that he has. So that's kind of a little
Boy, he sure did. And something, Drew Brees, he had a good game this week. Those long scoring drives of theirs.
Oh, that was amazing.
They had a 9-minute drive and a 7-minute drive, and it keeps the opposition off the field. And after they went down 14-0, they on their fourth down play early in the game, they went for it with the fake punt and made the first down, and that really turned the game around. And you got to give Sean Payton a lot of credit for that, because if they had the punt again, and if Philadelphia had scored again, I think they would have been in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that was a big play on their own 35-yard line. They turned the ball over to the Eagles there. You're likely going down 3 scores. That was a big gamble, and it paid off, and it likely led to the victory, because if Jeffries catches that ball at the end, they might have gone down there and been able to score. That's kind of
cool. Well, they missed a field goal. And it was one of those. I'm watching that game and I'm thinking, they had a penalty and a missed field goal that put them in position to pull another game out. And I'm thinking they can't be this lucky again. I mean, it just can't happen.
Yeah.
And luck went against them in that a normally reliable wide receiver let a ball go through his hands, which led to an interception.
The other.
I want to say one thing. I heard people on one of the networks criticizing the Rams for going for it on fourth down when they were running out the clock at the end of the game. I thought that was a great move on their part when Goff ran on that sweep, and they made the first down, and that ended the game. I'm so tired of coaches giving up the ball when they're trying to protect a narrow lead and setting up other teams. And that was a great call on the Rams' part. totally caught Dallas off guard. They ran the sweep with Goff, who had clear sailing, and they made the first down, going for it on fourth down instead of punting the ball. And I said, I've heard people criticize the coach for taking that risk because it could have, if they didn't make it, it would have given Dallas field position, and it worked out for him. And you second guess the guy when he was successful.
It's a roll of the dice. I mean, if he doesn't make it, it's like anything. You know, you take a chance, and if it works, you're a hero. If it doesn't, you're a bum. But McVay, you know, we got four really good coaches: Sean Payton, Belichick, Reed, and the young guy McVay, who's turned out. I mean, everybody wants a McVay type head coach now.
Well.
If you ever had a cup of coffee in the same building as McVay, they want to hire you because you were in the same building with the guy. So it's kind of, I mean, he's been amazing. He's done an amazing job.
You know, one thing about Reed, he's now 17-2 coming off a bye. You know, a lot of people didn't like Kansas City because of their defense. I don't know where the defense came from, but they made Andrew Luck look like they turned him into Phillip Rivers in a big game. He was horrible. Couldn't complete a pass. They didn't get a first down in the first half. They had the ball 4 times and went 3 and out 4 times.
I think the big question, Hank, you're right. The big question is, was it their defense or was Andrew Luck just totally out of sorts? He looked horrible, and I know the defense played well, but God, he didn't show up. He never got off the bus.
They frustrated him, and they were getting pressure on him. And the Kansas City defense has not played that poorly at home, actually. And they didn't even have Barry, their safety. He didn't play. But I'll tell you, New Orleans had a couple of key injuries on their defense in the game yesterday, which could affect them against the Rams.
Yeah, they did have some players go down. You know, going back to the Kansas City game, they're not going to be facing the same type of situation. You're not going to get, you know, Bill Belichick and Tom Brady have done this before. It's amazing, and hats off and bravo to these guys. Eight consecutive championship games for the AFC this team has been to. It's absolutely amazing, their domination.
Well, he definitely had him ready to play. And he's got, you know, a pair of safety or a pair of defensive backs in Gilmore and McCourty who are very good. It'll be interesting to see how they play against Kansas City.
Well, nothing scares Mahomes. There's a young man with unbelievable talent. This is a hell of a chess match between these two teams. You got Peyton against McVay, Belichick against Reed. This is going to be an amazing weekend. Both teams are home favorites. The home teams are favored by 3. One team is favored by 3.5. That's the Saints.
Yeah, I said this on the show when they were talking about how this is Rivers against Brady. I said, no, this is Rivers against McCourty and Gilmore.
Right. Yeah, amazing. And college basketball has really gotten good. There's some great games out there, and I know you've been doing really well.
I had the 2 Michigans yesterday, Michigan State and Michigan. Those 2 teams are headed for a showdown in the Big Ten. And Michigan is really loaded. That coach is doing a heck of a job. And they're a top 5 team. And Michigan is starting to come on. Michigan State is starting to come on, too. I can't wait to see those 2 teams play each other. I did give a pretty good tip on Friday. I said that Duke never plays well at Tallahassee. And they barely got by with a 2-point win against Florida State.
Yeah, and tonight they got to go up against Bayheim's zone defense, and usually the way to beat them is by hitting some outside shots, and so far that's not been a strength for Duke, but they definitely have the talent. Boy, they are loaded. So
yeah, that'll be a good game to watch. But I think Duke got by their squeaker, and the one thing that happened to them was that I think they lost one of their key guys who had a groin pull and had to come out. And if he can't go tonight, that could be a problem for them.
absolutely. Anything else you want to cover, Hank, that you want to talk about going forward today, or before we sign off?
It looks like the Dolphins are going to hire another Belichick disciple. Their defensive, one of their defensive assistants, Flory. Is that a good move or not? So far, none of the Belichick assistants has been all that successful, except for Vrabel. And I'm kind of surprised that they went for a defensive guy, because they really need help on the offensive end of things. So
Who are they going to hire for the offensive coordinator?
I have no idea.
That's a key position. I have a question for you about Cleveland. I mean, they are putting together a pretty good group for their coaching staff. However, Kitchens is an offensive guy, and they just hired Monchin to be their offensive coordinator. Isn't that like too many cooks in the kitchen? Excuse the pun.
I don't know. I think it's they're using the Rams philosophy, who never seem to run out of offensive assistants there, and I think that philosophy has worked there. So I think that they're trying to copy the Rams.
The interesting team, the Browns. If they can continue on the path that they finished the season on, when you look at Cincinnati being down, Pittsburgh struggling with issues, and I mean that elevates Cleveland to being a real contender for that division, and maybe further. It's strange to be talking about them in that way, but it looks like they might be going in the right direction. I still don't understand what they did with their head coach, and getting rid of him like that. Got rid of him, didn't give him the job, and then let him go. But I have to say that I'm impressed with the coaches they do have.
I'll tell you, the team that I'm impressed with is Tampa Bay. And he's really putting together a terrific staff there. He's bringing in all the good coaches he had with him in Arizona, and they're going to be a team to be reckoned with that coaching staff.
Well, I like Bruce Arians, and I like what he's doing down there. As long as they can keep Jameis Winston focused and get him, he's truly a great talent. If they can do that, don't lose too many players in the process with salary cap issues, etc. They are looking strong. I think the Atlanta Falcons have made some good moves as well, and that's the same division. We're talking about the Saints are still there, but that's going to be a tough division.
Well, Falcons have talent. The team that you have to wonder about is Carolina, as although they have a good coaching staff. Although he got rid of a lot, he's really shaken up his staff, and he's taken over the defense himself. You wonder about them. So yeah, but that'll be a fun division to watch next year.
Yeah, it will. It's one of the best. Well, everybody's going to be focusing on these two games this coming weekend. We're down to it now. We got 4 teams. Two of them are going to the Super Bowl, and they have prices on which matchups are going to the Super Bowl. They got the odds up for each of these games. Very interesting week, and you and I will cover this not only today, but we'll do it again on Wednesday and Friday and talk more about it. Is there anything going on in horse racing this week, Hank?
Next week, the 26th, is the Pegasus Stakes at Gulfstream.
Good.
That's the richest stakes race in this country, and that'll be big. You know, the one thing I'm just curious about is what Kansas City defense is going to show up. I think they did a heck of a job getting ready for Indianapolis, and you know they stopped. They took Mack out of the game. They fell so far behind early that Mack wasn't a factor. But you saw New England. I'll tell you something about New England. One point I want to make is that Gronk played a heck of a game. He only had one reception, but he was a blocking fool that entire game. He was opening up holes from his tight end position, and he was a big factor in their offense.
He was. It's a brilliantly coached team. You know, I know everybody's going to say, well, they won every game at home, but they weren't that good on the road, and that is true. But I've always had the feeling with Belichick teams is he just gets good at the time he needs to get good. And now a lot of that comes from the fact he plays in a division where there's really no competition, and he's going to win that division each and every year, and that's what's been happening. So he has that cush to be able to do that, but they are extremely tough, well coached. They know what they're doing on the football field. Now, if they don't drop off from going on, you know, playing at home, going on the road, they're going to be tough to beat. The question is, well, the point I'm trying to make is they just haven't been that good on the road.
Well, remember this: Kansas City, prior to this past weekend, was 0 for their last 6 in home playoff games.
Well, there you got two sides of that coin you got to look at, and that's where the handicapping comes in. And we're going to be doing a lot of work on that this week. Hank's picks are at jimfeist.com. I told you he's red hot, not only in football, but and I understand the football season's winding down now, but in basketball he's doing great. He knows his stuff. Go to jimfeist.com for Hank's plays and mine. I did not have a great weekend. I was 1-3 in the NFL, but right now I'm on a 26-10 run in the NFL, so I'm still doing well. In college basketball, pro basketball is also doing well. So go to jimfeist.com. We have stuff up there each and every day, and we'll try to make you a profit. Thanks, Hank. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you again on Wednesday.
Okay, I'm telling you, I had a 4-1 week on the CBS show, and I just hope that I can come through again next weekend. And I'll tell you one thing. I loved the Rams last week against Dallas. Dallas was a different team on the road, and I think that's a big factor with them. And, you know, they remember, you know, that Kansas City playoff record I don't take lightly, because Dallas was another team that did not have a good playoff record going into the weekend.
Yeah, you're right, Hank. You know, I'm going to just make this comment. It's kind of like funny rather than Jerry Jones just paid $250 million for a yacht. Maybe he should have taken some of that money and gotten some better coaches. I am not very high on Garrett and company down there. I just don't think they do a very good job. They have enough talent. I think they should be doing a better job than they do. And I think it's a sad situation when your defense gives up 273 yards rushing. And that is not quality football. Hats off to the Rams for doing it, but Cowboys have to look at themselves about that one. Anyway, that's just a side note. You may not agree with me, Hank, but I had to say that.
I don't know what coaching could have done to stop that running game. It was just superior to what those. That was a good defense all year long, and they had those two superior linebackers, but somehow the Rams offense managed to take them right out of the game. And you had two different styles of running backs that they were able to throw in there and you had Gurley, who's the leading running back in the league, who they were able to complement with a guy who had a totally different style. And I think that was more of personnel advantage than that was a coaching edge to their defense. Their defense was well coached.
All right, well, there's different ways of looking at it. Thanks, Hank. We'll talk again on Wednesday. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Okay.
Okay, bye.